keep waking up to those things as you read it. I'll give you one example. Abram is called out of Ur, right? And he has his miracle child, Isaac. And then that crazy, awful thing that Exodus 22, Abram's called to sacrifice his miracle baby. So, Abram is called to go 3 days' journey to a mountain where the Lord would show him. And so Abram takes Isaac to this mountain called Moriah, Hebrew, where the Lord shall provide. Abram puts the wood on Isaac's back. They climb to the top of the mountain, Isaac carrying the wood for his own sacrifice. And you know the rest of the story. At the last moment, the angel of the Lord steps in and provides a substitute in the form of a ram, and Isaac's life is spared. Okay, jump ahead 1,000 years. David, unified kingdom. David kind of messes up with the whole census thing, and he is going to build an altar to the Lord, and he goes to a mountain top that happens to be called Moriah. And this is a threshing floor, and a threshing floor is where you actually pitch the wheat up in the air where the wind's blowing, and the chaff blows away and the good grain falls to the ground. It's a threshing floor, and that's where David buys this threshing floor to build an altar unto the Lord. Happens to be on a mountain called Moriah. 1,000 years after that, Jesus Christ comes along and goes to a place, ultimately at the end of his ministry, called Moriah, where the Lord himself provided the once and for all sacrifice. He carried the instrument of his own crucifixion, and the Lord himself provided once and for all. That's over a 2,000-year period. That model, there's hundreds of those, you guys. I gave you one. There's hundreds of those. And if you read those as a skeptic, you're blown away. Where did this come from? The probabilities are staggering. Then I started looking at these historic prophecies. Surely, if this book has all these insights in it, you guys, I thought the Bible was for flat earthers, okay? I mean, the Bible, yeah, it's a bunch of throwback flat earthers. You know that the Bible speaks, Job speaks of a kug in Hebrew, a sphere, that Isaiah said is hanging on nothing in space? You guys, this is a time where the ancients thought that the earth was a tablet, a slab of granite, riding on the back of cosmic turtles, riding on the back of cosmic elephants. Seriously, you guys, to say that the earth is a sphere hanging on nothing in space? Where did desert nomads even get this, if not but for divine inspiration? Okay, so what is divine inspiration? What is this? What is the test that the Bible truly comes from outside our space-time continuum? The Bible says it, declares it. Deuteronomy 18, prophecy. God was going to call prophets, and they were going to declare the oracles of God. They were going to start setting down this special message to mankind through the Jews. Why prophecy? I don't know. But if foretelling the future was easy, surely we wouldn't have gambling industries today. We wouldn't have Vegas, right? You read the tabloid press. Well, they got this one. No. You know what the test was in the Bible? 100%. You missed one, poof, stoned to death. Was not a fun thing to be called a prophet. Now, one of my first things I thought was really interesting was, it's like, what about these short-term prophecies in the Bible? I mean, they're fulfilled in a day, in a week or in 2 years, or that doesn't mean anything to me. No, it meant something to them. See, if you were called as a prophet to declare prophecy, of course you gave short-term prophecies to the people. Why? Because then when they were fulfilled, they'd take you seriously on the medium and the long-term ones, right? They'd write them down. They'd keep the oracles of God. It's special. You are a divinely appointed prophet. Okay? Let me give you one example of the historic prophecies. About 700 BC, Isaiah speaks about a king named Cyrus who would allow the children of Israel to go back and rebuild Jerusalem and their temple. 700 BC. Now at this time, Jerusalem's rocking. The temple's great. Everybody's worshiping. There's no issues. Go to 586 BC, over 100 years later, Jerusalem falls. Most of the Israelites killed. The remnant hauled off into captivity in Babylon. 70 years after that, the Persians thump on the Babylonians and take over the empire. Guess who the king was who popped up under the Persians? Cyrus. Cyrus the Great then what? Allows the children of Israel to go back and rebuild Jerusalem and its temple. Now think about that. 700 BC, a prophecy is told. 586 BC, finally the temple and the city is destroyed. 70 years after that, a guy comes on the scene. How'd you like to be Cyrus? And these Jews pull out these ancient scrolls and your name's in it. Yeah, you'd listen, wouldn't you? Powerful stuff. Not only is that fulfilled biblically, I've got archaeological evidence now. I got a Cyrus cylinder. I've got a cuneiform cylinder that talks about Cyrus of Persia allowing the Jews to go back, the Israelites to go back and rebuild both the city and the temple. There's hundreds of those, you guys. And I'm one of those wackos that checked them all out. Then I got to a point where isn't the Bible, though, just an interpolation of an interpretation, of an oral tradition, if we even have the original? You know, come on. Well, first of all, the Bible's a translation, okay? It's not an interpretation. It's not an interpolation. It's a translated work like any other work that we read. When you read Plato's Republic or you read Homer's Iliad, those are translated. We have translated works. So first of all, yes, they're translated from the Hebrew and from the Greek and a little bit of Aramaic, but they're translations. The crazy and powerful thing is that today we have huge and overwhelming proof that what the Bible that you read today is substantially the Bible that was laid down in the case of the New Testament 2,000 years ago, in the case of the Old Testament out to 3,500 years ago. Guys, guess what? There's probably a word or two or a number or two that didn't quite make it. That has nothing to do with the inspired, trustworthy nature of the Bible we read today. It is absolutely trustworthy and inspired. And anybody who calls out one little word or one little Masoretic text error, you got to compare apples to apples on all these other works that we read. New Testament, you guys, we just passed 25,000 copies and fragments of the New Testament scriptures. Almost 6,000 of which are in the Koine Greek. A lot of Coptic, a lot of Syriac. When you line all of these scriptures up, textual criticism allows you to weed out the variants. We are in a position now in history like we've never been before. Within the last 100 years, we can trust this even more than we've ever been able to before.